As I drove down the empty highway, a chill ran down my spine. The darkness was only broken by the headlights of my car, illuminating the asphalt in front of me. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being followed. I glanced in my rearview mirror and my heart skipped a beat. A pair of headlights glared back at me, following my every turn and twist. I tried to convince myself that it was just a coincidence, but the car was getting closer and closer. My hands clenched the steering wheel as I tried to keep my composure. I was trapped on this deserted road, with no help in sight. The car behind me seemed to be toying with me, speeding up and slowing down, almost as if it were playing a game. As I drove on, my eyes flicked between the road ahead and the car behind me. My mind raced with possibilities. Who was behind the wheel? Were they a serial killer, a psychopath, or just some random stranger with malicious intentions? The headlights behind me seemed to be getting brighter, closer. I could feel my heart racing as I struggled to keep control of the car. My breathing grew shallow and quick as the car behind me seemed to gain on me. I tried to outrun the car, but it was no use. It was as if it knew my every move, my every thought. And then, just as suddenly as it appeared, the car disappeared, leaving me alone on the road. I breathed a sigh of relief, but the feeling of dread lingered. I knew that I had narrowly escaped a fate worse than death, and that the car behind me was still out there, waiting for its next victim. My nerves were shot as I drove on, my mind racing with thoughts of the car that had been following me. I couldn't shake the feeling that it was still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting to pounce. The darkness seemed to close in around me, suffocating me with its malevolent presence. My heart thudded in my chest as I struggled to keep control of my car, my knuckles white as I gripped the steering wheel with all my might. I could feel my eyes growing heavy, the constant stress and anxiety taking its toll on my body. I knew I couldn't keep this up forever, but I was too scared to stop. I had to keep moving, to keep driving, or else I was sure the car behind me would catch up. Suddenly, a flash of movement caught my eye. I glanced in my rearview mirror and saw the car behind me once again, its headlights glaring like demonic eyes in the darkness. Panic surged through me as I realized that I was trapped, with nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. The car behind me seemed to be gaining on me with every passing moment, its engine roaring with a primal fury. I could hear the sound of my own breathing, ragged and uneven, as I desperately tried to think of a way out. But there was no escape, no hope of survival in this nightmare world. And then, with a sudden burst of speed, the car behind me rammed into my own vehicle, sending me careening off the road and into a ditch. My head throbbed with pain as I struggled to regain consciousness, the world spinning around me in a dizzying haze. As I looked up, I saw the car that had been following me come to a stop beside my own, its driver's door opening with a sinister creak. I knew then that my time had run out, and that I was doomed to a fate worse than death at the hands of this monstrous entity. The darkness closed in around me once again, as the car's driver stepped out and approached me with a wicked grin on their face. My vision was blurred as I tried to focus on the looming figure of the car's driver. They stood there, silhouetted by the moonlight, their features obscured by the darkness. I tried to move, to run, to do anything to escape, but my body was unresponsive. I was trapped, completely at the mercy of this unknown entity. The driver approached me slowly, their footsteps echoing in the silence of the night. I could feel their gaze upon me, a burning intensity that seemed to sear my very soul. As they drew closer, I could see that their face was twisted into a grotesque smile, revealing a set of jagged teeth that glinted in the moonlight. I screamed, but no sound escaped my lips. I was paralyzed with fear, unable to move or even breathe. The driver reached out and grabbed me by the collar, pulling me towards them with an almost inhuman strength. And then, just as suddenly as they had appeared, the driver vanished into thin air, leaving me alone in the darkness once again. I stumbled to my feet, my body trembling with fear and exhaustion. I knew that I had narrowly escaped a terrible fate, but the memory of the driver's twisted grin haunted me still. As I made my way back to my car, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that the driver was still out there, waiting for me. And then, just as I reached my car, a voice whispered in my ear, sending shivers down my spine. "See you soon." The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end as I heard the voice, and I spun around to face an empty road. My heart was pounding in my chest, and I felt as though I was being suffocated by the oppressive darkness. I fumbled for my keys, desperate to get away from this place. But as I tried to start my car, it wouldn't turn over. I pounded on the dashboard, trying to coax it back to life, but it was no use. I was trapped, alone and vulnerable in the middle of nowhere. The voice echoed in my mind, taunting me with its sinister promise. I knew I had to find a way out, but where could I go? As I looked up, I saw a faint light in the distance, like a beacon in the darkness. It seemed to be coming from an abandoned gas station on the other side of the road. I hesitated, unsure of whether it was safe to go there. But I knew I had no other choice, and so I stepped out of my car and started walking towards the flickering light. As I got closer, I could see that the gas station was in ruins, the windows smashed and the roof caved in. It looked like it hadn't been used in years. But as I stepped inside, I heard a faint whisper, like someone breathing down my neck. The hairs on my arms stood on end, and I turned around to face the darkness behind me. There was no one there, but I could feel a malevolent presence in the air, like something was watching me. I tried to ignore it, to keep moving towards the light, but my steps grew slower and more hesitant. And then, just as I was about to reach the light, I heard a rustling sound behind me, and a cold breath on the back of my neck. I spun around, but there was no one there. The voice spoke again, louder this time, and I could feel its breath on my ear. "Welcome to your new home." My heart was racing as I heard those words, and I turned to run. But my feet wouldn't move, as if they were rooted to the spot. I felt a hand on my shoulder, cold and clammy, and I turned to face my tormentor. But there was no one there, only the empty darkness of the abandoned gas station. I could feel a chill creeping up my spine, as if I was being watched by a malevolent force that wanted nothing but to destroy me. And then, I heard a sound, like the scraping of metal on concrete. I followed the sound to the back of the gas station, where I found a rusty door that led to a basement. The door was slightly ajar, and I could see a faint light flickering inside. As I descended the stairs, I could hear a low humming sound, like someone was singing a haunting melody. The light grew brighter, illuminating a scene that I will never forget. There, in the center of the basement, was a figure, dressed in tattered rags and covered in grime. They were holding a candle, and their face was obscured by shadows. The humming grew louder, and the figure began to sway, as if in a trance. And then, they turned to face me, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. I could feel a wave of fear wash over me, as if the very fabric of reality was unraveling. And then, the figure spoke, in a voice that was neither human nor animal. "Welcome to the place where dreams go to die." I tried to run, but my legs wouldn't move. I was trapped, a prisoner in a nightmare that I couldn't escape. And then, the figure approached me, their eyes glowing brighter and brighter. As they reached out to touch me, I felt a surge of energy coursing through my body, and I knew that I was doomed. I braced myself for the inevitable, but instead of pain and terror, I felt a warm sensation spreading through my body. The figure's touch was not malevolent, but comforting, as if they were trying to ease my fears. The humming grew softer, and the figure stepped back, allowing me to regain my composure. As my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I could see that the figure was not a monster, but a human being, just like me. They spoke again, their voice trembling with emotion. "I'm sorry for scaring you. I didn't mean to. I was just trying to find someone who could help me." I was confused, but also relieved. It seemed that I had misjudged the situation, and that this person was not a threat after all. I asked them what they needed help with, and they told me a story that chilled me to the bone. They had been traveling on this same road, just like me, when they were attacked by a group of deranged individuals. They had managed to escape, but their car was destroyed, and they were badly injured. They had stumbled upon this gas station, hoping to find help, but instead they had found only darkness and despair. I listened to their tale, horrified by the cruelty of their attackers. And then, I made a decision. I would help this person, no matter what it took. We spent the night in the gas station, huddled together for warmth and protection. And in the morning, we set out on a journey to find safety and security, away from the dangers of the road. As we walked, I realized that I had been wrong about this place. It was not a nightmare, but a beacon of hope in a world gone mad. And as we journeyed together, I knew that I had found a friend for life, someone who would always be by my side, no matter what horrors we might face. The big plot twist was that the figure that the protagonist encountered was not a monster, but a fellow human being in need of help. The horror story transformed into a tale of friendship and resilience in the face of adversity. As we continued our journey, I noticed something strange about my new friend. They had a tendency to break out into spontaneous song, belting out cheesy pop tunes at the top of their lungs. I couldn't help but laugh as we marched down the highway, the sun beating down on us. My friend's ridiculous antics were a welcome distraction from the horrors of our recent ordeal. And then, something even stranger happened. As we passed by a field of cows, my friend began to dance, performing an elaborate routine that involved a lot of hip thrusting and arm flailing. I couldn't contain my laughter as I watched them prance around like a drunken ballerina. It was such a bizarre sight that I forgot all about the danger that still lurked in the shadows. But then, we heard a sound that brought us back to reality. It was the roar of an engine, coming from behind us. We turned to see a group of motorcycles bearing down on us, their riders clad in leather and chains. My heart sank as I realized that we were in deep trouble. But my friend had a different idea. They stepped forward, their arms outstretched, and began to sing. At first, I thought they had lost their mind. But then, I heard the lyrics, and I realized that they were singing a classic rock ballad, one that I had heard 1,000 times before. To my amazement, the bikers slowed down, their faces contorted in confusion. And then, they began to sing along, their gruff voices joining in the chorus. We stood there, in the middle of the highway, singing at the top of our lungs, surrounded by a group of hardened criminals. It was such a surreal moment that I had to pinch myself to make sure it was real. And then, as quickly as it had begun, it was over. The bikers revved their engines and roared off into the distance, leaving us standing there, with nothing but our laughter and our memories. The big plot twist was that the bikers who had seemed like a threat turned out to be big softies who just wanted to sing along to a classic rock ballad. The horror story turned into a hilarious, uplifting moment that we would never forget. As the dust settled, and the sound of the bikers' engines faded away into the distance, my friend turned to me, their face beaming with joy. I never would have guessed that singing would be the thing that saved our lives, they said, still giddy with excitement. I nodded, feeling a newfound sense of hope and optimism. The horror and danger of the road had transformed into a series of bizarre, unforgettable experiences that had brought us closer together. As we continued our journey, we encountered all sorts of strange and wondrous things, a friendly trucker who offered us a lift, a pack of wild dogs that chased us down the road, and a group of travelers who shared their food and water with us. Through it all, my friend and I remained steadfast, always looking out for each other, and finding joy in even the darkest moments. And then, one day, we saw it, the glimmering lights of a city, rising up in the distance. It was a sign that our journey was almost over, and that we would soon be safe and sound. As we walked towards the city, hand in hand, I knew that I had found a true friend for life. Someone who had been there for me, in the most difficult moments, and who had shown me that even in the midst of horror and darkness, there was still hope and love. And so, we entered the city, with our heads held high, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. For we knew that as long as we had each other, we could conquer anything, and that the horror of the road would forever be a distant memory. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please take a moment to hit the like button and consider subscribing to our channel for more great content. Your support helps us continue to create and share valuable information with you. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.